Hopefully my walk will raise awareness about how important migrants are in the lives that they lead, and be able to and help me to be able to support them in the work that I do. We're looking to raise $1 million. We're currently at about 230, 240,000.
This is our regular series of discussions that we do on a monthly basis. We cover all kinds of topics, and today we are talking about walking. Now, walking can sometimes be stronger than talking, right? In 1930, Gandhi and his followers did the Salt March to protest against the British salt tax and monopoly in colonial India. The Selma to Montgomery marches were three 1965 civil rights marches in Alabama, organized to demand voting rights for Black Americans. Art Garfunkel of Simon and Garfunkel fame did his walk across America from New York to the Pacific coast in 150-kilometer installments, and reflected his interest in walking as a way to think, write, and experience the country slowly. Now, the benefits of walking have been well documented. There are many people out there who say they have to walk, they need to do it, they want to do it. Now, how do you go about planning your walking routine? Today's panelists bring various walking experiences to the discussion, from race walking to casual rambling and purposeful pilgrimage. We have tips to guide you through your walking routine. So let's talk the walk. We have Alexander E., a former senior corporate executive, consultant, and lawyer who, after a life-changing 925-kilometer walk on the Camino de Santiago, decided to change direction and devote his life to the service of others. His change is chronicled in his best-selling book, A Glimpse of Heaven, Grief, Self, and Community on the Camino. Today, he is the executive director of ACMI, a charity devoted to looking after low-income and vulnerable migrants in Singapore. He is organizing a walk in support of these vulnerable workers, and we'll talk a bit about it later. As one of Singapore's pioneering race walkers, Michael Sengol proudly represented the nation and held Singapore's national race walking record from 1970 to 1976. And in 1973, he set the East Asia race walking record, an achievement that reflected years of unwavering commitment, resilience, and determination. Today, Michael continues to live by the principles that have shaped his remarkable journey. At 71, he remains an active walker, believing that every step strengthens not only the body, but also the mind and spirit. Kim Lee is a health coach, neurofeedback practitioner, and lifelong believer in the value of movement, not only for physical health, but for freedom, confidence, connection, and adventure. For many years, she has also enjoyed hiking and camping in the forests of Peninsular Malaysia and Sarawak. Today, Kim voluntarily leads a weekly mobility and fitness workout for seniors. For Kim, walking is more than exercise. It is one of the simplest ways to preserve health, independence, curiosity, and the ability to keep saying yes to life. Dr. Gamaliel Tan is a senior orthopaedic and spine surgeon and a director of orthopedic associates at Mount Elizabeth Novena, Mount Elizabeth Orchard, and Mount Alvernia Hospital. With more than 2 decades of clinical experience, he specializes in spinal conditions, mobility, and musculoskeletal health. Dr. Tan is also an adjunct associate professor at the NUS Yong Lulin School of Medicine and has held senior leadership positions at Ng Teng Fong General Hospital and the National University Health System. He will share a specialist perspective on how regular walking supports mobility, musculoskeletal health, and overall well-being. Thanks for joining us as we talk the walk. Let me start off by asking each of you, what sort of routine you've been doing, what you've put into your walking and why you've been walking.
It was race walking, but initially when I was 13, there was a lot of British Army veteran here, so they were doing this Sunday walk. So I just joined them, and then it became a race walk. Obviously, I learned a lot about walking because walking in race walking, there's a lot of rules. So that was something I had to do, and also there were people walking barefooted, and I was one of them, without understanding what it would do for you later on in your years, right? Because if you walk 20 kilometers barefooted, it can hurt you. So today I walk because I enjoy it. It keeps me very active. It keeps my brain very active. And, my memory is not lost. The one thing I learned is you got to invest on a shoe. The shoe that must be very appropriate as you go, right? Initially, it was a shoe that had a heel. But then now, because it's an exercise and I'm enjoying it, it's got to be a good shoes that allows you to land and not hurt your toes or your feet, I mean. So I'm still doing it every day. I enjoy keeping myself active.
Do you follow a routine or do you just walk when you feel like it?
Right now, I when I feel like it, but usually until a year ago, it was 5 8 o'clock in the morning at the East Coast, right? Because I like when there's nobody. I like to walk because I do speed walking. I still challenge myself, even though I don't need to. But I feel that if I don't burn out, I don't enjoy it.
Okay. So it's kind of an addiction, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. Became an addiction.
Do you find your times have reduced because of your age?
I don't think so. I think the 10 kilometer, 12 kilometer, I've been doing it without any difficulty. It's the speed that probably changes because you know your timing, right? It starts with 1 hour 20 minutes, and then you realize that the time has increased because you can't go as fast anymore. But the kilometers doesn't change. The distance doesn't change.
I walk because I want to hike, right? So every year I make it a point to try and go on one of my long distance hikes. This year I'm doing 827 kilometers in about 1 month's time on the Camino de Santiago. So for me, I walk in order to prepare for those long distance walks. And all my walks usually take place on weekends because they take a long time for me to complete. Usually about 15 kilometers. And they always involve hills and cardio. So you will probably see me most of the time at Bukit Timah Hill going up and down, with a backpack on my back, to prepare for the hikes.
Okay. And you've done a few of these walks now, right? How many have you done?
I've done 3. I've covered about 1,600 kilometers in total since 2023. So this year, 827 will bring me to about 2004. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've enjoyed every moment of those walks because you're out in
And
the
all
open.
Sorry.
Yeah, because you're out in the open, you see beautiful scenery, and you're alone, and you get time to spend with yourself and your own thoughts.
Okay. And all of these are part of the Camino. All the walks have been on the Camino de Santiago?
Except one. Last year I walked from Tuscany to Rome, and that was a beautiful walk. But Roman cities and villages have one disadvantage. They are always, because of their history, they need to be defensible. So they are always on top of a hill, which means that at the end of every day, I have to climb a very high hill to get to wherever it is I've decided that I'm going to stay, and that's depressing.
Okay. And the Camino is more flat, is it?
Camino is more flat because the Spanish, again, because of the history, most of the villages and towns are in the lowlands, so you don't have to actually climb a hill to get to your accommodation.
Okay. It seems to be quite trendy. I notice a lot of friends are heading off onto various pilgrimage walks, some Mount Kailash in Tibet, Lourdes in France, Kumano Kodo in Japan, Adams Peak in Sri Lanka. Do you notice this? Is there a growth suddenly of people very interested to do these kind of long pilgrimage walks? They must be repenting for some serious stuff in life.
Well, most of them don't do it the way I do. So maybe, because you can go the luxury way if you want, where there is 5-star accommodation, there's a car waiting for you every 5 kilometers with food and drink. And then if you want to drop off your bag with the car, you can. So, but not to say that everybody does it that way. But yes, you're right. A lot of people are going on these walks. I think interest in the Camino, just the Camino alone, because that's where I do most of my walks, has exploded about 50% in the past 2 or 3 years.
Kim, how did you get into it, into walking, and what keeps you going?
Well, I guess it was the hiking before, and I like being outdoors, like Alex, and in the wild, right? And Malaysia has a lot of wild wilderness that we don't have here, so I pretty much, yeah, spent a lot of time, more time there than most of the people I know. And after that phase was over, I just wanted to carry on the momentum. So I looked for reasons to walk because I still like being outdoors one way or another. So don't really have a set daily routine, but I do have certain default habits I fall back on. So if like I check my step counts sometimes. Now I don't so much because I have an idea how much I need to do if I want to get to my minimum a day, which is about 10,000. And the only times when I fall short is when I'm stuck in a classroom or at a desk for any reason. And I try to keep that to a minimum as well. So sometimes I might choose to go to the supermarket, but it's not the one that's around the corner. It's one that's half an hour's walk away, just to log my steps.
And to lug stuff back, that'll
Oh,
increase your
take a
strength
bus.
as well. Oh, take a bus. That's kind of cheating, isn't it?
Well, when you've got groceries which are melting in this heat.
Okay. Dr. Tan, having heard our other panelists talk about their experiences, as somebody in the orthopedic space and in the medical space, are there ways of doing things properly if you want to get onto a walking routine?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, walking is so-called very simple. I mean, 3 years ago, my wife got involved with walking because she went on her Camino, and then I got roped in for the second Camino, and then we started walking. And of course, usually the Caminos are paired with shopping, and then you can get your Prada bags and everything. And it was a Sunday, and the shops were closing, and we were flying off, and she had to rush to get something for our daughter. And then I said, after that, got knee pain. I said, just walking only, or you're just walking to get to the shop, although you were rushing. So the knee pain didn't get better for a year. I said, just get an MRI scan. And then, of course, we found some damage and everything, and we're all in our 50s. So I said, hey, I think in our 30s and 40s, we always walk, but how come in the 50s we can get knee pain? So there was some damage to the knee. I said, okay, so better, being an orthopedic surgeon, I said, you most probably, your patella is not tracking properly because of the mild varus deformity for most Asian females. And then it also took out some of the meniscus and the cartilage. Nothing surgical, but definitely I said, better go for physio, man. Better go and do strength and conditioning, do your quads, do your VMOs, do your hams, your glutes. Because you want to do more shopping, then you better go and strengthen yourself for shopping.
So at least strengthen your wallet.
I have to strengthen my wallet. So I think that's why I think that it's important that as we get older, yes, you do your 10,000 steps, but you have to do it correctly. Because if you, maybe when we're in 20 and 30 or 40s, we can get away a lot of things. But as we get older, age will catch up. Then we have to make sure that we actually strengthen our muscle groups for that activity that we wish to do. Or else we just jump in and then we get injured. And you get a lot of that from pickleball, from weekend warriors, from the gyms. You even get that from people doing deadlifts, weighted squats. Get a lot of business from there, from these people doing unsupervised exercises. We need to strengthen ourselves so to prevent injuries and so that we can keep doing the activity that we wish to do for long term.
The people who go for weekend walks and do long weekend walks, are they in essence doing more harm than good at the same time?
I think it's definitely more aerobic good. So because you're burning calories, so social activity. For some of us, I walk with my wife, so you You catch up on a lot of things, and it's easily accessible. So it's a lot of mental good, social good, cardio good. And the good thing is it's low impact, right? So if you're going to get injured, you're not going to get crazy injured compared to deadlifting body weight 10 reps, right? So it's not going to be major impact. If you're going to get pain, it's going to be a very low grade pain. You can quickly diagnose it, intervene, and it's mostly not going to be permanent damage. So the risk benefit ratio for walking is definitely there compared to other activities.
What about footwear?
Footwear. That's a good one. Yes, I agree. You do need good footwear, and especially if you're doing Camino. I only did one Camino, but my wife who did two, obviously she said that you really need to get footwear. So I think that's really important. But I can't really advise on the type of footwear because that one I think you need to get whether you have flat feet or whether it's a bit pronation or eversion or and all that. Then you need to get either a podiatrist or expert to fit if the shoes you don't have normal feet. But footwear is certainly
But say
important.
for the average person who doesn't have sort of major abnormalities in their feet, would the amount of cushioning in the footwear matter? Can you have too much cushioning? Can it be too little?
I think the cushioning most of the time is okay. Again, I'm not an expert, but for the Camino trips, we had to get one size bigger because the feet will start to swell up after 10 clicks. And then it's not going to, it's not going to be so comfortable after that really. So that's what I learned from my own personal experience.
I think for speed walking, because you got to land hard, then your shoe cushion must be appropriate. Otherwise, you're going to hurt your feet later on, like you said, the knees and all, because you're banging all the time. But if you're just casual, your speed is a normal speed. If you're racing, I think the shoes are important.
Yeah, and I would add, if you're doing things like the Camino where you're carrying your backpack, so if you're carrying 10 to 15 kilograms, then you, depending on the strength of your ankles, you might want to consider mid cuts or high cuts. Probably mid cuts are enough. But if you're also doing long distances, then if you're walking over rough terrain, soft footwear, you will start to feel the ground under you, and it gets very painful. So you need stiffer soles. Although, it may not be most appropriate for a casual walker, in the long run, it protects you.
Yeah, I would second that. When I used to hike, hiking shoes and mid-cut, like you mentioned, for the ankle stability, some ankle support. My shoes the soles of my shoes were, chosen to match the terrain I'd be on, which was usually very rough.
That's right.
So I wouldn't wear that kind of shoes walking around in Singapore because there's really no need for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here in Singapore, I can sometimes go go with a minimalist barefoot type sole, as long as I'm not doing too much hard pavements. So I will choose my shoe based on the amount of time I'm going to be out within the terrain I'll be covering. So yeah, but I find that I don't need too much cushioning. And sometimes I find that the more cushioning I have, the less stable I am.
Yeah.
If you ever try to do a one-legged balance on a thick yoga mat and one on the floor without a mat, you find you're a lot more stable with barefoot. After
my Camino, my feet grew half a size. Right. And I think it's just purely the fact that I haven't been building up. I haven't been the muscles that developed because of the long distance that I never had. So now they're permanently half a size, and all of my old shoes that I used to have, I can't wear anymore.
That's one for the shoe industry to go after. Michael, all that walking over the years, what sort of injuries have you sustained?
Fortunately, I have not sustained any injury on my legs. Fortunately, because I started very early race walking. Then from there, as I said, I use the right shoes. I constantly change shoes. I don't wear the same shoes because I'm speed walking and I'm walking on hard pavement, not on grass. So shoes matters to me. And you're doing race walking, you got to land on your heel and you got to lock in your knees. Otherwise, you're creeping or you're disqualified. So doing that constantly, I was aware that I must continue that trend and not just walk for the sake of walking. Walk because I enjoy walking and as a sport.
Shoe technology has evolved quite rapidly over the last few decades, right? When you were starting out, it probably wasn't a big thing. Did you what kind of shoes were you
I
wearing
had to
then?
make shoes. Actually, in Serangoon Road, there was a gobbler there that made shoes for us. So he made soft top and bottom. We had a heel, right? Every shoe had a heel. You needed to have a heel. You can't have a flat shoe. And the shoes don't last you long because every other maybe a month, then you have to change the bottom. Yeah.
And how often were you race walking at that point in time? Is
Oh,
it
that was
daily, was it?
plenty daily. Yes. The exercise was daily. Like I said, because we didn't have science behind us, so and we didn't understand that you don't need to do that. You need to rest too, right? But we took it so seriously that we were every day. It was a race, and every Sunday we had a race.
I remember there used to be a lot of the big walks in
That's right.
Singapore back in the
That's right.
day, right? And then it's sort of kind of vanished. I
Yeah.
don't hear much about that anymore. It's become marathons, it's become triathlons. Is it sort of trending? I mean, are these sort of things trendy?
Maybe the sponsors like Malay Mail, remember the newspapers, New Nation, Big Walk, and then Sinalco was always supporting us, giving us free drinks on a Sunday. But I think those sponsors are gone, and to organize it, you need very committed, people who enjoy sport like that. But I don't think that's happening anymore. There's a lot of fun walks now. You don't see race walks.
And actually, a lot of charities are using walks to fundraise.
Correct. Correct.
Yes. And you are right, Alex, with your charity. So tell us a bit about your upcoming charity walk.
Well, I'll be walking 827 kilometers through Spain on the Camino del Norte, the northern route of the Camino de Santiago. And I'm doing it on behalf of to raise awareness and to raise funds for the charity that I work at, which is ACMI. So, I want to be able to do something for migrants, and a pilgrimage or these kind of walks actually mirror in a lot of ways the lives of migrants, because there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of hardship. I'm completely reliant on locals in order to get from one place to another, and their goodwill if I get into trouble. But it's also a walk which is of hope, because I'm hoping to get to a destination, much like how the migrants work who come to Singapore, because they're working for the hope of a better life for their own families back home. So hopefully my walk will raise awareness about how important migrants are in the lives that they lead, and be able to and help me to be able to support them in the work that I do.
And how much are you looking to raise?
Looking to raise $1 million. We're currently at about 240,000, and the campaign will last until 31st October. So if anybody's interested, you can go to our website, which is journey with JOURNEY with WITH.acmi.org.sg to find out more about this walk that I'm doing.
Well, hope you manage to get enough funds to help the migrant community as well here with the programs that you're developing for that, right? A lot of people talk about the 10,000 steps. It's actually a very old Japanese marketing campaign from the 1960s for a pedometer, the Manpoke pedometer, but somehow it's become like, 10,000 steps I must do. In reality, do you really even need to count the number of steps you need to do, or how do you know whether you've walked enough?
Our promotion board did the 10,000 steps also a few years back as part of Healthy SG. And I think that's a simple number to remember. It takes about maybe an hour or so depending on how fast you walk, to get 10,000 steps. So something easily accessible. But I also say that nowadays, just the 10,000 steps is not enough. You also have to, as I mentioned before, you have to pair it together with some resistance training, which is if you're doing walking, then it'll be your lower limb exercises. If you're targeting the spine for neck pain and back pain, it'll be core exercises. And that will keep you in shape for other activities. So a lot of times when we see the older patients for frailty, for fall prevention, 10,000 steps won't help them to prevent a fall, but if you're strengthening the quads, the balancing and all that would prevent falls, and also help them to, even if they have a near fall, they can recover from that. So if you can, in Singapore, we're very blessed, we're very lucky, because if you do any of the park connectors, they always have these little gyms that are all laid out at very strategic locations. So you can always just go and do some of these simple exercises. You can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups, and they have all these exercises to do some resistance and strength training also to pair together with your walking as you go from, if you walk along the park connectors. And if you really want to maybe spice things up, you also can do some interval jogs and walks. So you walk a bit, then you jog, slow jog a bit, then you can walk a bit, and that will also increase the effectiveness of the cardio during the limited time that you have.
With all these park connectors, as you were mentioning, and all the exercise stations along the way, there's actually a continuous route that you can walk right around the island. Would that be our Camino? You know, can that be our pilgrimage?
Yeah, it's possible. You can do a Camino. Yeah, it's possible. Maybe Alex can do a Camino for Singapore.
Come
I could.
walk Singapore.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, maybe in a later iteration of this charity campaign that we're doing, it will involve a walk, maybe from one dormitory to another, one of the migrant worker dormitories to another. That's not a bad idea. Thank you.
The cyclists do all these round island cycling trips.
Yes, they do a lot of cycling, but I think the walking would be nice. But if there's a bit more variation in the terrain, that might be quite good, I think, and make it a bit different and more interesting for people to walk. But certainly, I was thinking about it earlier. Why not have our own little, route for walking? Since it was very popular at one stage, all the big walks. Why not now? Especially with an aging population, I find. It's safer and more beneficial to walk than to try and run or do some of the other things. Wouldn't you agree, Dr. Tan?
Yes, it's definitely safer than other forms. But do pair it with a little bit of resistance and strength training.
Talking about resistance training, I don't know how everybody feels, but I think one good way to get it is probably to wear a weighted vest, during the walk, so that you at least add some weight to your body, which then stresses the muscles a little bit.
Yeah, when I was walking during COVID with a friend, we made it a point just to do body weight squats every time we saw a park bench. And we have a lot of park benches in Singapore, apparently.
That's a lot of squats.
Yes, every time we see a park bench, 10 squats. So we usually clear more than 100 by the time we're done.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good way of combining things. So it also takes a bit of the monotony out of just walking at a pace, right? What about things like walking backwards? What benefits are there in that?
Well, I can talk to that. So one of the things that obviously in all the hikes that I do, going up there's very little in terms of it's hard on the quads, it's hard on the glutes, but coming down is not something that many of us practice for, and it's actually it can be very strenuous, especially in the lats. And I found that actually walking backwards, uphill, helps with improving the muscles that support me coming down. So over time, I've developed that as part of my routine. And it's vastly improved my ability to descend stairs or hills or whatever it is. But I don't know I don't know where the science, all I did was follow a YouTube video and it seems to work.
Okay, so Dr. Tan, what's the science behind that?
Yeah, I think one is the way the eccentric and isometric kind of strengthening. So when you are climbing stairs and all that, you actually you're shortening, you're contracting your quads to climb the stairs. When you're going down, you have to do an eccentric loading. That means you have to lengthen the muscles in a controlled way to go downhill or descend. So that's why you climb mountain easy, you come down even harder because you're tired already. Now you need to do a descent. And that's when things can happen. So that's why you doing this walking backwards practices the eccentric loading versus the isometric loading. That means loading while lengthening the muscles, which we hardly ever do. You see a lot of people walking backwards in the park. I just hope you don't bump into something or trip over a stone, and then just give them my name card. Hi, Dr. Tan here. But just be careful. Either you put mirror or
You
something.
can.
But you can always do it on a skill mill in a safe way. But not many gyms have skill mills. Only some specialized gyms have it.
Is there a particular speed that you need to walk to, or at an incline, or is it flat, or walk down, or you shouldn't do backwards?
Every time I go uphill backwards with my bag, it hurts like crazy. It
Your
really
back,
hurts.
your
So
back.
I can't go very fast anyway. All right.
Yeah.
And most of the time, when I'm going up a hill, I make sure that there's nobody on that hill. Usually, so in those instances, I'm usually walking when it's not crowded, so that I don't bump into anybody.
What are you listening to as far as what your body is telling you about your walking? When do you ease off? When do you step up?
If you're enjoying it, and as you enjoy it, you'll know when to take the pace that you're doing it, and the length of time you're spending on it. So you're enjoying it, and then it keeps you fit. And when you wake up in the morning, you feel good, and you know as you age, your body talks to you, right? Your body speaks to you and tells you that, look, you're overdoing it, or you're not overdoing it, you're underdoing it. Sometimes you wake up and you feel you've not done enough. So I suppose that's what you got to listen to.
But for somebody who maybe is new to it, right? How should you start paying attention to what you're doing right and what you're not doing right?
As Michael said, listen to your body. The other thing is form over rep. Always keep in. So if you're doing weights, same thing for any cardio. You just make sure your form is right. Even if walking, your posture is neutral spine. And that when you get tired, you make sure that the form doesn't go off. That means you make sure you're still keeping good form when you're doing your gait, and your body is in a neutral position. And that's what Michael said. If 24 to 48 hours later your body says, no, I'm in pain, obviously overdid it, then back off, right? And then go back maybe to half load, and then build up the volume, and then build up the stamina and the endurance. And then, of course, if there's specific joint pains or specific back pains, like did I do something wrong to injure my back, or to injure my hip, or to injure my knee or my ankle? Why is it painful? Then obviously get it checked out before proceeding. But most muscle aches will usually present 24 to 48 hours later, and will resolve another 24 to 48 hours later. And then that's nothing. I don't need to do anything. You just listen to it, listen to where the muscle aches are, and then repeat it with proper form, but at a lower load, and then build up from there.
How do you monitor your form if you are walking alone?
Yeah, so one good way is, of course, at home, right? You can just, in a neutral position, is basically a wall stand. So when you do a wall stand, you're neutral, because heel, buttocks, scapula, occiput is all against the wall, and that's sort of fairly neutral. Similar to lying on the yoga mat, it's neutral. But against gravity is against the wall. If you can't remember, then it's good every time, maybe every 15 minutes, do a check. Am I neutral? Then proceed again, like take a break, do a neutral check. Okay, am I okay? Is my form all right? As long as we are mindful of the form, then we are all right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So is it better to walk in a group or solo? I know it's personal preference, but there might be safety in numbers, maybe, or if you want introspection, then you might want to do it alone. What are your personal preferences and recommendations, Kim?
I like both, but different times of the day and different occasions, right? The group's great for social interaction. And also, we can check one another. And Gamaliel was talking about posture earlier. So, with the group that I'm with, we do posture checks sometimes. And also, we're looking at the gait and how we step and how we transfer weight from one foot to the other. So those are all part exercises that we work on Wednesday mornings. Yeah, and a number of them have mentioned that they do feel like they're walking more stably now, which is a nice feedback to get from it.
How big is your walking group?
It's more a workout group than a walking group.
Okay.
The WhatsApp group size is like 85, but we only have, I've tried to keep the group down to 35 on Wednesdays because it's getting too big to actually see everybody. And then again, the physical constraints of space for the workout, we need sometimes we have a railing there, which we use as a bar for support, and it won't take 85 people.
What about things like walking aids, like the trekking poles and stuff like that? Are those helpful, or should you rely on those?
Oh, I went through a Nordic pole.
Earlier?
I went through a Nordic pole phase, but the thing is, I think what the big appeal about walking is that you can just get up and start rather than have to look around for your poles and wonder where they are and stuff like that. The Nordic poles are good actually for helping you check your balance, because you are more mindful of your balance when you're using them. That's what I've discovered personally. But it's a cost. So, and then it's something you forget sometimes.
The only time
Okay.
you would need poles is if you are actually doing a hike where you're carrying your backpack, and then you need some stability going up or coming down.
Nordic walking really
Okay.
started with snow walking in the Scandinavian countries. We're kind of just adapting it for urban use around the world now.
What is your walking route, your preferred walking route in Singapore?
East Coast, because I wait for I walk towards the seaside, right? So you're enjoying it, you're reflecting, you do a lot of things while walking. Walking is just not just an exercise. You're exercising your whole body, your mind, your soul. So I enjoy having a scenery like that.
Okay. And your walks are what, an hour and a half? Was it something like that?
Generally, it's close to 2 hours.
2 hours. Okay. And you start at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, 5 or earlier. As I said, I like to go when there's nobody, no cyclists, nothing. So it's easier.
Me, it's Rifle Range Road towards the Wallace Trail within the Bukit Timah Reserve, and then up the dairy farm route towards the summit of the Bukit Timah Hill before coming down and then joining back to Rifle Range Road.
Okay. How long does that take you?
That takes about 2 hours, but I like it because it's the ascent and it's quite rural.
Okay. And it's not something you do daily, right?
No. I mean, if I would like to be able to do it, it's at least once a week, but not that particular route. But I do want to try and at least cover 10 to 15 kilometers up with ascents up Bukit Timah Hill, so that I have the cardio.
Okay. And Kim, yourself?
Well, I like to say the wildest spaces, but we're going to be losing Maju, so that's it. That's not someplace that we can do every day either. But it's great fun and actually in wet weather when you're sliding everywhere. I like the challenge. On I guess approachable basis, it will probably be the area that I'm in, which is down south of the island, from Labrador towards Sentosa, including Sentosa.
And how long does that take you?
Labrador Park itself, well, it could take me about an hour and a half, depending. I can vary the route quite a bit, so it really depends on that.
Okay. But usually a walk's about an hour, is it?
If I want to do a serious walk, it would be at least an hour in Singapore. But my truly serious walks are about 10 hours in the bush. So
okay, that's different.
yeah.
Okay, that's good fun.
Yeah.
Dr. Tan, yourself?
Yeah, usually my wife and I just walk around the park connectors, Bishan Kallang. Yeah, it's about 1.5 hour walk. Try to do it once a week at least. And yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kim, Alex, Gamaliel, and Michael. Interesting insights from different perspectives, because you approach walking in different ways for different reasons as well, and different perspectives. So it's nice to have all of that on board and to take it for our own walks, see what adopt and adapt to our needs, I guess, as we walk. And now maybe we can also try developing a walk around Singapore, which could be an important feature of the way to good for tourism. Maybe if people want to come and walk, since everybody's rushing off to do the Santiago and all the other pilgrimage walks, why not come here and do that as well?